Morning guys, how you doing today? So the subject of today's talk is going to be the Heat 1 or the Hostile Environment Advanced Tactics 1 class that we run at Max Velocity Tactical. So we kind of changed the curriculum and the names of things as we got to the end of 2017 and 2018, and we tidied things up. And for those of you who've been sort of following MVT for a while, Heat 1 developed from originally what we called the CRCD class, which was a 2-day weekend class. And then it became the Combat Team Tactics class, which was a 3-day class, which had a sort of an optional rifle skills day ahead of that. So that would have been, for example, the Thursday before going into the Friday, Saturday, Sunday of the Combat Team Tactics class. And then we changed that around and renamed it as Heat 1, and that became a full 4-day class. Now, so a couple of points on that. So it's much better now that it's a full 4-day class, and I'll come on to explain that in a little bit. Also, what that allowed us to do was, it was preferable when guys turned up for the rifle skills day on the Thursday. But of course it was never sort of mandatory to do so, so you could show up on the Thursday, you could show up on the Friday. And so we had to sort of split, so we had to start guys on the Thursday and then begin again completely on the Friday. And it was hugely beneficial to have the guys attend the 4-day training. Now that we've made that a full 4-day progression, then we can begin people on the Thursday and we can just move the whole group through Thursday, Friday before hitting the tactical ranges on the Saturday, Sunday. So it's a lot better in that format. And, you could say that, I shot myself in the foot by making it a 4-day class and also adding fitness prerequisites. In my previous, Max talk a few days ago, I did explain, the reasons for the fitness prerequisites, and it's made everything better for everybody. So let's talk about this and why turn up to a 4-day class, and what do we do? What do we do on this 4-day class? So, we are probably the only training school that actually does real small unit tactics. Not only do we focus on actual combat marksmanship and all the basic combat stuff at an individual level, but we then move on to team tactical training. And we don't just, we don't just talk about it or maybe put a class on every now and again, just to sort of say that we do it and kind of mess around on the edges of it. We are absolutely serious about it. That's why we built the Velocity Training Center facility near to Romney, which is state-of-the-art facility for team tactical training. You've got pop-up targets out in the woods, raid sites, ambush sites. You've got all this stuff, and it's very well put together. We've been working on it over the last 5 years. We never stop investing in the Velocity Training Center. So I would urge you to take the mindset that if you're interested in this type of training, and why would you be interested in this type of training? You are interested in it because you're a warrior. You are a protector. You're a paladin. You understand. And if you don't understand the need to be as tactically prepared and trained as possible, then I'm not going to sell that to you. But for those of you out there that do understand that, you have that urge, you really want to be fully tactically trained, then you'll see the need for the Heat 1 class. And the Heat 1 class, although we have plenty of classes that have no fitness or actual class prerequisites, we urge the Heat 1 class, and the Heat 1 class is required for the Heat 2 class. So we urge that you attend it because it is such a building block to everything we do at Max Velocity Tactical. We also, I would also say to you that consider the Velocity Training Center. We have people travel to the Velocity Training Center from all across the country. California, Alaska, Texas, Florida. We have people travel for a long distance, and I realize that it's a 4-day class, but it's absolutely unique and it's absolutely worth it. So it's not something that you can just say, oh, I'll just this weekend I'll knock out this firearms training class at wherever, local trainer X. What we're saying to you is you need to invest. If you want to invest in yourself and you want to invest as a protector and to be truly capable of these, this tactical, these tactical abilities, then invest in it as something that you need to put a little bit of time towards. You want to travel to the VTC. You want to allow yourself to have that 4-day, window, travel either side, etc., where you can train Thursday to Sunday. And so why do we make this class 4 days? Well, it never used to be so. And this kind of amuses me. But we, as I mentioned, the first CRCD class was a weekend. And, that was at the very beginning of my evolution as training, civilians in the United States. I trained plenty of people in different parts of the world, including local national forces district, that kind of thing. I've done a lot of that, but I kind of, originally believed the hype that people were as good at running their guns as they thought they were. And of course, it turned out to be, not quite so true, which is why we went from the CRCD class and we sort of added a day. And, that was to work more on safety, more on basic weapon manipulation, and, more on the basics so that we could then get more value for money whilst moving out into the tactical training. Because, we used to talk about the muscle memory gorilla. So this is the guy that hasn't really learned to properly manipulate his weapon. And when I say manipulate his weapon, I'm talking about malfunctions, stoppages, reloads, all that kind of stuff, which you're going to have to conduct in the wild, in the woods, as part of a team evolution, with gunfire going off, pop-up targets, etc. And you're literally, the muscle memory gorilla, I don't know what am I supposed to do? And you're focusing on your weapon, you're not developing situational awareness. And so, we learned these lessons, I learned these lessons as we went on, and we developed the classes and we developed the POI. So a little bit of a confession there. And then we ultimately found that the best way to run this class was to do 2 days. So effectively, if it's a standard weekend class, Thursday, Friday is on the flat range. And what we're going to go through is all the stuff that some of it, you may be kind of familiar with from normal flat range stuff that you've done, but it's combat training. It's done as only Max Velocity Tactical can do it. No compromises. This is professional level stuff. So we'll take you on the Thursday, through the fundamentals, moving on to all, from prone, kneeling, standing, facing movements. Then, we're moving into combat marksmanship. We're moving into all these different techniques. We're going to bring in barricades. We're going to be doing use of cover. We're going to get shooting on the move, support side shooting. We're going to hit all this stuff up on the Thursday, Friday. So, for those that are sort of square range, flat range, cool guys, it's the ultimate cool stuff. And we're going to hit that up. And on the sort of the Friday, we finish by really nailing the RTR drill. Did I talk about that in my previous talk? And nailing the assault through drills, shooting on the move, and all that kind of stuff. So that allows us to move into the Saturday, Sunday on the tactical ranges with a lot more competence. We are so, stringent, as it were, or we are so about safety. I've heard many quotes to say that we run the safest ranges that people have seen. You're more likely to, have a problem dealing with a bunch of FUDs at the local whatever range than you are at Max Velocity Tactical, because, we so focus on it. And everything we do is going to be talked through on the whiteboard as a form of a lecture. This is in terms of the tactical ranges. It's going to be rehearsed, and then it's going to be reminded, and then we're going to actually run the drill with close supervision. And that's how we run things. And so with our crawl, walk, run sort of philosophy, it's going to come at you a little bit like a fire hose. It's going to come at you, but it's not going to be unsafe, and it's not going to be unattainable. And again, that's another reason why we have the fitness prerequisites, so that people are physically up to doing. It's not a hard class, but you're going up and down, terrain and some hills, that kind of thing. You've got to be physically fit to a basic level. So on the tactical ranges, we're going to build you up through, using pop-up targets, mannequins, etc. We're going to build you up through pairs and teams, learning how to learning basic firearm maneuver to assault forwards, and then what we do is once we've learned that basic firearm movements to assault forwards, we're then going to teach you how to go in different directions on the battlefield, which is effectively allowing you to break contact or maneuver around in reaction to enemy fire. And we've got these tactical lanes set up, and we're going to focus up to team level on Heat 1, which is a 4-man team. And we have Tactical Range 1, where we kind of do the basics on the Saturday, and then Tactical Range 2, which is slightly more complex, where we'll do things on the Sunday. And then we usually finish up with a pretty awesome assault exercise as the kind of finale, where we've got this enemy position with like 6 pop-up targets and mannequins, etc., which we'll do sort of an assault through finale on. So the class is amazing value for money and amazing tactical training. And I highly urge you to, come along and do it. It is an investment of time and treasure in terms of, we mainly run the classes at the VTC in Romney. It's 4 days. You're not going to knock it out. But if you're serious about investing in yourself and as a protector, then you need to be serious about these classes. What I'll also say is, what's the attitude on classes? Do we drill sergeant you? I saw a little while back about, a meme going around about yelling and, are we like mean to you at these classes? And it's kind of interesting because, I've heard more recently that, in student AARs that people sort of actually expected to be yelled at more, or they would be happy to be yelled at more because it's a serious environment and therefore they want mistakes to be reinforced. As in, not mistakes to be reinforced, but if they make a safety mistake or some kind of error, they want to sort of have that reinforced, which is very interesting. I will say, and again, as a form of confession, I think that back in the day, 5 years ago, when we were doing the CRCD classes, which, we were basically getting out, and although we were building up over the course of 2 days from individual, we didn't have all that weapon manipulation training, and so I think that there was more yelling back then because people really, there was more chance that someone was going to sort of make a safety mistake, and one of the things we have a reputation for is seeing what you're going to do before you do it, and people are usually amazed. They're like, you were like on me before I even. Because we've seen it enough times, we know exactly what people are doing, and we can see, as we're following behind you, running safety on the ranges, we can see exactly what you're doing. And so, it is a live fire environment. So when the noise is going off, if we're going to communicate things, people have got to yell to each other, and we've got to yell at you if we expect something to be, if we're trying to finesse something. Simply because of volume, we've got to yell over the sort of the background noise. And it is a big boy environment. If you make a safety mistake, you will be warned. If people can't stay with the curve, as in they're not staying with with the basic progression and doing things safely as they're doing it, then people have been taken off the class, which of course is necessary for the safety of everybody else. It's pretty unusual, and we'll do everything that we can to prevent that kind of thing. Which is, also been sort of mitigated a lot by the fact that we now have the fitness prerequisites, so people are not sort of in a fog of fatigue when they're going up the ranges anymore. And people would turn up in all sorts of shapes, completely kidding themselves. It's like, I talk about PT, I talk about fitness, I write about it on the blog, I talk about it all over the webpage, in the classes, and then people don't do any fitness and show up to class expecting, something to be different. I mean, that's a whole different talk about sort of the mindset of people in general and the mindset of people who think they're going to be okay on the day when it comes to a tactical threat. I mean, a lot of people are living in a little bit of a sort of self-delusion right there, living in denial. So now that there is a specific, very basic, very easy fitness prerequisite, we know that we've got people at that level. So, is it a dynamic tactical class for grown-ups? Yes. Are you going to be told things straight if you go up the range and mess it up? I'm not just talking about, safety mistakes, which don't happen that often. Nobody's ever sort of threatened, but, that you're just not conducting the drill correctly, which is ultimately going to, put your life in danger, and you need to be made to understand that. If you're failing to take cover, or every time you take cover like in front of the cover rather than behind the cover, things like this, or, other things that are going to get you killed, or more likely to get you killed in a gunfight, you're going to be told. You're not going to be yelled at, but, we're also not going to, sort of mollycoddle it. So it's a grown-up environment, it's a fair environment, and we would only be able to run these classes and put the effort into running these classes, when what's everybody else doing out there? They're just doing this pew-pew stuff on the flat range, and it's easy. It's easy. You want to make a buck as a firearms instructor, just do that. Don't create a sort of state-of-the-art tactical training facility in the woods of West Virginia at huge, investment of back-breaking labor and time and treasure and, all that kind of stuff. Don't do that. But we do it because we care. And that's kind of where this whole thing comes from. I mean, if you want to sort of understand the mindset of myself and all the other instructors at MVT, you kind of got to understand that that's where we're coming from. I wouldn't have done this if I hadn't thought it was important, and that those that show up, those awesome people that actually show up to do these classes, I am absolutely all about your welfare, your ability to understand and learn this training, so that if anything that ever needed this training happens to you, I mean, not even talking about the benefits this training will give to you sort of day to day, but, if you ever need this, I want you to really know it and understand it. And that, if you want to sort of take one thing away from it, that's where this all comes from. We're doing it because we care. It's an act of love rather than an act of, we'll just run some sort of firearms training classes. We're just going to, we were in the GWOT, so we'll just sort of do this. And teaching people like all sorts of nonsensical drills that are not applicable. There's a lot out there. So, Heat 1, I'll put the links down below. Again, I probably talked for too long. It's an excellent class. We have alumni that come back and do it again and again, interspersed with other classes. And also, we're also changing things on the class. We're always progressing. The ranges are always getting better. We have a wonderful group of alumni at Max Velocity Tactical. Guys that keep coming back, training again and again. Probably shouldn't have said that, it's a little bit too nice. But coming on Heat 1 is an excellent way to kind of become part of that club. If you're really serious about this as a warrior, protector, then you need to become part of the MVT Alumni Club. People often don't show up to MVT classes because they don't know what they don't know. They think they're going to come and get yelled at, or, they don't understand that how professional we are and our professional backgrounds, and they think this is just a bunch of, dudes running around through the woods with live rounds going in all directions. All the ranges are set up properly with the safety angles and everything, properly supervised. So, there is to a certain extent a fear of failure, and I think it's important to understand that we are there to help you succeed. We're not there to sort of drill sergeant you. We are there we will firmly correct you if you're doing something that we think might be dangerous to someone else, which is for the benefit of the whole class, and the benefit of yourself. And we are there to help you succeed. We will accommodate you as best as possible, and we are going to do our absolute best because it's what we do. We are teachers. We are instructors. It's our calling. And we are going to teach you this tactical training as best as we possibly can. And so Heat 1 is going to take you through sort of individual fundamental level through to sort of team 4-man level tactical out in the woods. And then of course there's a whole bunch of other classes, and for example Heat 2 is going to kind of take off again at that 4-man team level, and it's going to move you up to squad level. It used to be sort of the combat patrol class, but it's not exactly a combat patrol class anymore. It's just a sort of a more sort of higher level team tactics class, which involves, it does involve close target recce. It involves ambush, multiple ambush iterations. It involves raid. It involves hasty attack. It involves going through some of the drills again that we've done on combat team tactics, but then maybe building them up to, you know, sort of squad level, Overwatch, breaking contact at squad level, that kind of thing. Excellent class. I'll put dates. I think we've got some spaces left in the Heat 1 class that's coming up in August. I'll put dates and links down below the video. And that's probably enough for now. Thanks very much for listening. Take care.